On the morning of June 6, 1944, thousands of American infantrymen stepped off their landing craft and into the history books, but they carried more than just their courage. On their backs, they hauled the equipment that would determine whether they lived or died. From the weapons in their hands to the rations in their packs, we are breaking down the complete, combat-ready loadout of a USGI during the largest amphibious invasion the world had ever seen. Let's start with the uniform that defined the era. The most recognizable piece was undoubtedly the M1 steel helmet, famously known as the steel pot, weighing 3 pounds. This wasn't just head protection, it was a soldier's best friend. It came covered in netting, which served a dual purpose. It broke up the sun's reflection to prevent sniping, and it allowed soldiers to stuff local foliage inside for natural camouflage. Below the helmet, troops wore the M1941 field jacket. This light olive drab coat established the look of the early war years. However, it was often a source of complaint. While it looked sharp, GIs found it wasn't thick enough or waterproof enough to handle the damp, freezing weather of Northern Europe. Underneath, they relied on the M1937 wool shirt. This mustard-colored layer was critical, providing the insulation needed to fight off the chill of the French morning. The foundation of the uniform was the M1937 wool trousers. These heavy olive drab pants were the workhorse of the outfit. Soldiers often found them itchy, but they were essential because wool retains heat even when wetter. Life-saving feature for men wading through the English Channel on their feet. They wore the type to serve as shoes. These ankle-high leather boots were built for the long march to Germany. By 1944, many were rough-out leather, treated with a waterproofing wax called dubbing. Before the double-buckle combat boots became standard, soldiers had to pair these shoes with M1938 canvas leggings. These leggings were notorious. They were a hassle to lace up in a hurry, but they did their job, protecting ankles and keeping rocks, mud, and sand out of the boots. Now, let's look at the firepower. The primary weapon was the M1 Garand rifle. General Patton famously called it the greatest battle implement ever devised. This semi-automatic powerhouse gave the U.S. infantrymen a massive advantage over the enemy's bolt-action rifles, allowing for rapid follow-up shots to keep that rifle fed. Soldiers wore the M1923 cartridge belt. This heavy canvas belt was the core of the gear, featuring 10 pockets that held enough .306 ammunition to sustain a firefight. When the Garand ran dry, soldiers relied on the 8-round end-block clips. These steel clips held the rounds together, and upon firing the last shot, they ejected with that legendary ping sound. For close-quarters combat, officers and assault troops carried the M1911.45 caliber pistol, renowned for its rugged steel construction and stopping power. It was a trusted backup when the fighting got personal. Soldiers also carried the Mk2 fragmentation grenade, nicknamed the Pineapple for its textured cast-iron body. This heavy explosive could clear a bunker or trench with a simple pull of the pin. And for hand-to-hand encounters, there was the M1 bayonet, with a 10-inch blade that snapped onto the end of the Garand. It was a formidable piece of steel, used for everything from fighting to opening crates. Because D-Day was a seaborne invasion, the Army issued specific gear that wasn't used in typical land battles. One oddity was the Pliofilm waterproof rifle cover. It looked like a simple plastic bag, but it was vital for keeping salt water and sand out of the rifle's action. In an emergency, a soldier could shoot right through the plastic dot to prevent drowning in deep waters. Every man was issued the M1926 inflatable flotation belt, also known as the life belt. If a soldier went overboard, he could squeeze 2 trigger handles to instantly inflate the belt using CO2 cartridges. There was also a very real fear of chemical warfare. Soldiers carried the M7 assault gas mask bag, a rubberized waterproof kit strapped to the chest to keep the mask dry during the surf landing. Inside was the compact M5 assault gas mask, designed specifically for the invasion to be lighter and flatter than previous models. On their shoulders, they wore a gas detection brush. This was a specially treated paper sleeve that would change color to pink or red if it detected blister agents or nerve gas in the air. Navigation in the chaos was handled with folded map sections of the Normandy coastline, printed on thin waterproofed paper. These maps were crucial for guiding leaders through the confusing hedgerows and inland objectives. Carrying all the survival gear was the M1928 haversack. This wasn't a standard backpack. It was a complicated canvas envelope. If a soldier unpacked it incorrectly, his gear would dump out onto the ground. Attached to this pack was the M1910 entrenching tool. Before folding shovels took over, this T-handled spade was standard issue. It was awkward to run with, but when artillery started falling, it became the most important tool a soldier owned. It was secured in a canvas carrier with a leather strap to stop it from banging around. Hydration and food were just as critical as ammo. The M1910 aluminum canteen held 1 quart of water. Soldiers often recalled the water tasting metallic or like the purification tablets they had to drop inside. Nested underneath was the stainless steel canteen cup, which served as a stove, coffee mug, and shaving basin all in one. Both were kept in a felt-lined canvas cover that, when soaked with water, used evaporation to keep the drink inside cool for food. The daily combat diet came from the ration box. Packaged in wax-coated cardboard, it contained tins of meat, biscuits, coffee, and cigarettes, just enough calories to keep a man moving. For dire emergencies, they carried the ration chocolate bar. Shutterstock. This wasn't a treat. It was a dense, heat-resistant block of energy so hard that soldiers often had to slice it with a knife to eat it. When hot food was available behind the lines, they used the M193 to meat can mess kit, an oval pan stored in a canvas pouch to stop it from rattling. Finally, we have the personal items that kept a soldier going. The TL-122 flashlight, with its distinctive crookneck design, clipped onto suspenders for hands-free use and often featured colored lenses for signaling. The M1942 first aid pouch on the belt held a painted metal tin containing a sterile bandage and sulfur powder to treat wounds immediately. Perhaps the most underrated item was a pair of standard-issue wool socks. Clean, dry socks were the only defense against trenchfoot, a crippling condition caused by wet foxholes. And identifying every man were his dog tags, 2 stainless steel tags on a beaded chain, listing his name, serial number, blood type, and religion, marking his identity in both life and death. This collection of canvas, steel, and wool weighed heavy on the shoulders of the American GI Butt as they stormed the beaches of Normandy. This loadout was the only thing standing between them and the enemy.